Going off of what Kristen said earlier, getting out of your own echo chamber, besides just exposing yourself to points of view that you might not have considered, how else can we get out of that echo chamber and quit polarizing politics further and further?
I'm holding the mic.
Your turn.
In some ways, it's a learned behavior. So I don't believe that we always have to be polarized. I'm someone who feels incredibly passionate about particular elements of identity politics. And I've tried hard, I'm not always successful, to be a person that listens and approaches conversations with an open and generous heart. That doesn't mean that I don't think I'm right about a lot of the issues, I do. But I do think that political civility and approaching citizenship and institutionalized politics with an open and generous heart is a learned behavior, and it is a practice that we can maintain and nurture in ourselves. So no one expects to be like an awesome basketball player the first time they go out on the court. I don't think that we should expect that we're an awesome citizen or public intellectual the first time we open our mouths to speak. So I do think that it's something that we need to nurture in ourselves. We need to read, we need to learn, we need to cultivate our performance of citizenship, and some people cultivate that in ways that I don't necessarily agree with, but to be an angry and bitter person, that takes a lot of work too. So I guess I would just prefer to spend my time working to be an open and generous and kind person who's also politically informed and passionate.
I think when I started becoming a political junkie back in 6th grade and all throughout high school, I tried my hardest to try to look at both sides of an issue or all the sides of an issue, and to this day, even as liberal as I am, I still see common ground in a lot of things that conservatives have to say, and it's not that because they're conservative, I'm not going to go that way, but it's just that I feel that certain stances on certain issues match up with what I want, but that doesn't mean I'm going to ignore somebody from the get-go. I try my hardest to listen to the other side as much as possible, because if you listen as much as possible, you can find some common theme, common experience, common view on life or an issue that you wouldn't even thought existed. I remember when I interned at the State House for my Senator, Earlene Rogers, I examined the way she would talk to her colleagues, and being in the minority as she was in the Democratic caucus, which only had 10 senators in the Senate, and the Republicans basically run the place, she was able to pass a number of legislation, all because she went out of her way to talk to her colleagues, to find what it was that they shared in common. And oftentimes there were senators who came from Gary, and she would use that against them and say, hey, you're from Gary, you were born here. You have an obligation to do all you can to help save this city. And it comes down to just having conversations and forcing yourself. Even if you don't like it, just do it. You will grow as a person in the long run.
Yeah, and I think on campus, that's also a way that we can get involved with different organizations that we may not typically get involved in beforehand. So in order to break our echo chambers, we can stop hanging out with the groups and the people that we identify with, but instead seek out diversification and those that we may not initially agree with. But by building relationships with people, I think it's easier to understand and become friends with them and then learn about their politics from there.
Yeah, I definitely agree with everything that's been said. In addition, to kind of echo something Senator Eckerty said, we can't yell at people who disagree with us. It doesn't work. We see that on campus when the quote hate preachers come and stand on campus and yell things like, all gay people are going to hell and everybody's a sinner. Those things, counteracting those and yelling back doesn't get us anywhere. We don't see improvement in that. Nobody's learning anything. So if you're going to have those discussions and talk with other people and try to educate other people about where you stand on a political issue, you have to be understanding and say, I'm gonna listen to what you have to say as well, and we're gonna do this in a way that's not us just yelling at each other and being angry, because that's not gonna get anywhere.
Did either of you want to comment on this question? No? Okay. It skipped you, so.
I guess from an elected official standpoint, it kind of comes down to when you're supporting a candidate, is it a candidate that's going to be strictly ready to draw lines in the sand, or are they more interested in getting things accomplished, working across the lines, or working hard to eat? My theory always was I'd rather win half the battle than lose the war. And sometimes that means somebody else gets the credit, that's okay, if that's what's best for the constituents that you're representing. To me, it was just an easier way to govern. You know, I don't need to go in and fight all the time. Let's figure we have some common ground. Because I found there are some R's that are 100% R. They don't like any D's and D's that don't. But the majority of the people will work in the middle. You know, you got to give them something to bite on. And sometimes they got to have a little win, and sometimes you got to have a win. But if you're more interested in accomplishing a goal at the end of the day, if you're more interested in accomplishing something. You need to work together. Compromise to me is a very positive word in politics that's not used enough.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Is that allowed?
Yeah.
I want to ask James a question. I'll put you on it in that.
All
Okay. James and I worked together this year. Okay. He worked for Earlene Rogers, who absolutely horrifies me.
It's true.
Yeah, she's tough. She's as tough as they come. She really is, and she's very good at her job. In the supermajority, you guys the Republicans are in the supermajority there, which means there's a whole bunch of us, very few of the Democrats. How were the Democrats treated as a whole, do you think?
What surprised me was that the Democrats were treated with respect. Even though they were only 10 and the Republicans were 40, I was surprised to see down at the State House how well both sides of the aisle get along. And if you go through the vote records, it's online. You will see, you will see how often the entire chamber votes together. It's not just Republicans versus Democrats all the time. I was surprised to actually see how many times Democrats and Republicans voted together. And sometimes Republicans even jumped the aisle and voted with Democrats, and sometimes Democrats voted with Republicans. I remember hearing the story of when Senator Rogers lost her leadership position in the Democratic caucus as the whip at one point in time, when she voted with the Republicans on the it was the toll road bill. And the toll road bill was designed to restructure and privatize it, but it was also benefiting Gary in the long run. And she cared more about her hometown than she did about her party. And she was willing to put it all on the line. Sometimes we have to rise above the whole party fray and actually do what we were sent to do.
And make no mistake, we go out and hammer and tong at times, there's no question about it. But as James will tell you, and I can't speak to local politics, so I've never been in it. But I suspect very strongly that at the federal level, it is not this way. But at the State House, especially in the Senate, we have absolute rules of decorum, period. You will address the other members with absolute respect and dignity at all times, or you will be called down and censored on the spot in front of everybody. Right now, no questions asked. You don't get to complain, you don't get to appeal, you just get the hammer dropped on you, that's all there is to it. I love it. It's absolutely great, you know, it promotes civility, it doesn't allow us to get out of line. Senator Rogers, that James worked for, my second year down there, she and I spent 45 minutes on the floor one day arguing. Okay? Not once did either one of us ever get out of line. I was scared to get out of line. But we argued, I mean, we went at it for 45 minutes, and she won. She beat the stuffings out of me, no question about it. I was not a happy camper. And after her session was over that day, she caught me in the hall and gave me the biggest hug and told me she loved me, and she said, next time you'll probably win. And that's just how we got along, and we still get along to this day. And she's as tough as anybody I know I've ever met, but fair, and and works hard, and people absolutely respect her because she is fair and honest.
Do you think the civility of a politician affects their ability to lead?
I would say absolutely, it should affect the ability of people to follow them.
Does anyone else have anything?
I think I was told when I was growing up, doing student council races and holding class president positions, I was always told like, hey, you have to hold yourself to a higher standard. Because oftentimes if you lower yourself below that of the expectations of the office, then your constituents are going to use that as an excuse to get out of line as well. Well, the president was cussing, why can't I cuss? And I think leadership positions show not only a lot about the person themselves, but it shows a lot about the group and the society as a whole. Since we live in a democracy, when we elect our leaders, we are together coming to show that this is who we are as a people. If we're electing people who are going to do nothing but argue and never get anything done, then that shows a lot about ourselves. If we are electing people who are going to do their hardest to actually work across the aisle and actually research and go out of their way to educate themselves on the issue and to bring us together, that says a lot about ourselves too.